All right, so this will be the rubric for the project, okay, for the Audi R8. This one is a kind of like a promotional video. This is not a commercial. This is something where you would probably, I mean, the giveaway here is Paul. We take a look at Paul. It says Audi sports car experience. So I'm guessing here this is when they say experience, this is something where you can test drive these cars, not just test drive them, test drive them on a track, like what they're supposed to do, what they're capable of. All right. And Audi, they're very specific with their cars. Um, I think there still are mostly all-wheel drive. That's kind of like standard, okay, meaning all wheels are all active and moving. But this is a sports car, so Paul here will explain um, why is that not an oxymoron, because it's a you're trying to stabilize a car that's supposed to run wild, hence it's a sports car, right? So it's going to explain the ratio is 80 to 20. It's at the back, so expect this car to still kind of fishtail, but you won't roll over easily, okay? Because it's I don't know. It's something where they're putting the safety feature while still giving you that sports car feel to it. Okay, so rubric here. You don't have a choice. You have to use BTAA AIF as your music. Okay, and let's take a listen to this music here. I will probably lower the volume if I hit it loud. Yep. Okay, so let's listen to it. Okay, from the beginning, and then we're going to look at a time code. Right here, sorry. About 10 seconds in. Typical music for an intro. Here comes the drop. All right. You probably already imagine which car you're showing right now. Some slow motion. All right. Okay. That's going to be about 40 seconds in. Beat hasn't changed. It's still the same kind of beat. It's still like it's background music that keeps going. 50 seconds in. Still the same. About a minute. Still the same. I know, I told you, part of logging. You can't escape it. All right, about 110. We should be paying attention around 122 here. Okay, 120. Right here. 123. You hear that? Kind of like slowing down. All right, and I go. All right. So your first rubric right here, the edit will be a minute and 30 seconds long. Not one frame more, not one frame less. A minute 30. Okay? So now that we know we're going to be using a minute 30 of that, of course, you'll want to use it. You want to put that as part of your little guide. So you're going to have to trim this. So right here where it says a minute 30, I'm going to go back a few frames right here. I'm going to press O to mark that out, and then I can bring that uh, into my timeline right here, and it gives me, oops, did I just kick it out? Yep. And right there gives me a minute and 30. So I know I can't exceed that one. All right. So we brought it in there because we already changed our format to match our footage. Okay. Your second rubric is you need to use all three talking heads. You need to use all three talking heads. Okay. But we have to be kind of smart about this project. It's kind of like a presentation one. Okay. Think of it like it's like a kiosk video. Or we'll make it that. Okay. think of it, this is the video that they show at the dealership, okay? Where it's just playing in there. When it's done playing, what happens to it? It loops, all right? It loops, kind of like when you're the doctors and then you're waiting, then they have a video showing that you're dying of diabetes. You wait for 2 hours, you become an expert because that thing loops nonstop and you know everything. So it's the same thing here, right? So there's certain information that we don't need to make sure it gets repeated in the edit because the nature of the video is it will loop again. If you miss this guy's name, guess what? It's going to come back. All right, so we are aware what the video is. It loops, okay? All right, so all talking heads, 3 talking heads, mandatory, you need them in there. So right now, just for my rough cut, I will put them in here in no particular order, okay? Actually, before I do that, I'm going to move audio 2 here to protect it. I mean, the audio, the song, into audio 2 or even audio 3, just so that I can, well, audio 2 probably is fine. Just so that when I drag my videos, okay, they don't kind of eat any of that part away, okay? They're not in any particular order. I'm just going to drag them in here just per requirement of our rubric, okay? So all 3 talking heads, we need them. Do you need to show all of them? No, but you definitely need the audio. You'll be using all of them. The other rubric for our talking head is you cannot edit the talking head, meaning you cannot trim. You have to use the talking heads in their entirety. Either be showing all video and audio or just audio, but you can't be trimming them like this. You can't be cutting sections of them. They're already pre-edited for you. They're ready to go. Okay? Okay, next part of our thing, it's like you basically, you have to give a title to Paul, okay? So I'm gonna go to my effects library, and you're gonna need a left lower third for Paul, okay? I'm gonna drag it here. And again, we're not arranging the talking heads yet in their particular order, we're just doing the rubric. So here, we don't know Paul's last name, it's not designated. So I'm gonna go to the inspector. So we're gonna go Paul, you guys make up their last name. Another thing is that I don't know if Audi uses Times Roman. So the font that you'll use is whatever Audi's using, but unfortunately I'm just not familiar with that. So you guys do your research, find out what's the font very similar to what Audi uses, okay? Because it's a culture. I mean, Apple doesn't use any other font, you know, and they don't use Comic Sans for their marketing on their boxes and whatnot. They do have a particular font that they use, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's the same thing they do on their website. You're trying to umbrella, put all your branding together, right? So Paul Smith, and then this is a lower third, so that means it has another section right there for the bottom. So let's just call this, let's call him an Audi car expert, right? You can call him whatever you want. You can call Paul, nice jacket, Paul. I don't know. You guys give it I'm going to put it here as generic as we can, Audi car expert, all right? So you need a lower third, okay, for the name. And you do need to fade the lower third. And I'm just doing this again just so that you could see the requirement for the edit so that it enters. Okay, how long is Paul's name supposed to be there again? Long enough to read the whole thing. Okay, so you read it and that's your timing. It's not 3 seconds, it's not 10 seconds, it's long enough to read on average. Okay, if you guys are, you grew up in a family of auctioneers, no, you're not qualified to be reading this stuff for timing. You're going to read it way too fast. Okay, so we're on average. Okay, so another thing with the talking head, you need a J and L cut for your first talking head. We haven't done that yet, but we need a J and L cut. Okay, so I'm going to shrink my my screen here so that I have more screen time right here. Okay, I'm going to move this one up above right there for now. And after that, we're going to need a fade in and fade out at the beginning using your other shots. So basically, these are your B-rolls. Okay, so basically, what is a B-roll? It's footage basically that you put in a timeline based on what they're talking about. Make sense? So when Paul is talking about, let's say, I know you haven't seen the footage because you guys never watched any of the footage in advance. So we know the song is there; it's mandatory, all right? It even starts on its own. We don't even need to fade the beginning of the song. We might need to fade the end of the song. Agree? Because we just cut that at 1:30. But I'm gonna lower the volume a bit on that one. We know the song is there, and we're just gonna so it doesn't overwhelm the talking head.
The R8, it's biased to have most of the drive towards the rear wheel, typically about 80% or so.
So he's talking about the wheels. There's a bias towards the rear of the car and whatnot. So what should we be showing when he's talking about that? Probably slow-mo shots where this thing is just sliding, showing the back. Okay, that's basically B-rolling, right? So whatever you show what he's talking about, okay? Let's put another one here.
And so you have a very rear-wheel drive feel and balance with the vehicle, but you also have the security of an all-wheel drive system. And that means whether if it's inclement weather or
inclement weather, which one do you think is that? The one with the water. Okay, so we now get all right. So when he's talking about something very specific, and we have the video for it, yes. When he's talking about other things like, let's say, sound of the engine.
It's almost like a symphony going on behind you.
All right, so the rest of the population, they call it noise pollution. Car people, they call it orchestra. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I mean, it's it's kind of like, if you're a musician, heavy metal, they call it noise pollution. To you, it's music. But some people, it's just called noise pollution. Anyway, so again, we're B-rolling here. Anything that gets sandwiched in between no talking head, it's kind of like B-rolls. All right, so you pick which one. All right, so, but if I have to guess here with the music, with the tone of the music, are we showing interior or exterior shots, you think? Probably interior, right? Because again, this project, it's such a dead giveaway. It's it's meant for you guys to succeed. It's very easy to put together, so I mean, for that, we're probably going to go to the interior and then, all right, so that's probably this one where the lights are off and then you time it where it opens up. Okay, makes sense? If I go in here and I put I to input, I'm into mark in, mark out. Just for kicks, let's put it in here. All right, so, probably the ending.
V10, it's an incredible experience.
All right, who are we kidding, right? This one, they turn off the lights instead. Okay, so I mean, it's and I'll put that in there just for kicks, just. All right, I mean, it's quite obvious once you listen to the song and watch all the footage, how you're going to put it together, okay? So, and then the other requirement also is here. You need to isolate the volume, okay, of the music. This is our last rubric right here. I'm going to save this one. Okay, so whenever the song,
and then you put in the quattro drive,
and Paul, that's not going to work because they're competing, right? So you need to be able to edit the song, okay? And to do that, you just do option click on that volume line. You need a total of 4, and then you lower the music when Paul is talking, so it doesn't compete with Paul.
And then you put in the quattro drivetrain.
Okay, of course I did that just whatever. So you'll be graded on how you position those ramp where the lower where the volume of the music gets lowered and then when it comes back. So that has to be perfect. It can't be too abrupt. It's kind of like you're listening to a song and then someone just yanked the volume down. It has to be gradual enough so it's natural and seamless. Okay, so you have to do that. So you have to do this at the very last, because if you change your mind and reposition the talking head just slightly to the right, guess what happened to all that hard work you put in there? It's garbage. So you do this audio edit of the music at the very last when you have a final cut. Okay? If it's annoying the heck out of you because it's so loud while you're still editing, you can just lower that. You still need to listen to it because you need to know location based on the song, so you need it in there. All right? So here's what we're going to do. Hopefully I have notes. There we go, notes. Let's look at the rubric right here. Yeah, I'm going to pull notes real quick. I'm going to write them down so that they're all listed. And our Macs are really dying. Notes is struggling to get started. No, I'm not doing that. Okay, so we're going to go with new notes right here. Okay, so rubric Audi R8 rubric. Okay, and I'm just going to make all this as titles. All right, number 1, use BT audio mandatory and trim at 00, 1, 30. All right, so basically a minute and a half, right? A minute and a half, okay? Number 2 is you have to use all 3 talking heads and no trimming. Okay, supposed to say no edit, but that's what that means. Okay. Number 3, use lower left third title and fade. Okay, fade title. You're gonna have to fade it. Okay. Number 4, use appropriate or B-rolls. And okay. Number 5, use JL cut to first and last talking head, meaning the middle talking head that we're going to use, we're not even going to use JL cut. We're just going to use the audio for the middle one. So only the first and last talking head will have a JL cut. We don't know what JL cut yet. We haven't done that, but we're just kind of putting the rubric. And use well, you don't need to use fades for the video because it's natural. You saw the intro. It has a natural opening of the light and closing down of the light. Use audio edit on song when talking head is playing. Okay, so I'm just gonna. So basically, what I showed you. Okay, so but that final cut only. All right, so you don't do it until you get to the final cut. Okay, and then of course export per recipe. So we'll give you guys our export recipe from now on when we get there. Okay, with naming convention and whatnot and what to do with it. Okay, as far as I can tell, I think that's what it is. And then thing to watch out for is basically no jump cuts, and video and audio, no jump cuts. Okay, so meaning you could easily get jump cuts on video if you use the front of the car to another shot of the front of the car, similar framing. Then it will look like a jump cut. Okay. All right. So let me see if I can increase the. What's the best I can do? I don't know how to use this notes. All right. So I think those are our rubric right there. Okay. And we're going to end the lesson right here for the rubric, and then we'll get back into putting it together once we learn how to do JML cuts.